compact premium SUVs. They are the cars of the moment. Whether used for the daily commute or the school run, they are the fashion statement you can justify to your family.
But which should you choose between the revised Range Rover Evoque, the BMW X3 and the all-new Mercedes GLC?
To help you decide, I'm going to compare their design.
It's just more Victoria Beckham than Kate Middleton.
Test what they're like to drive.
Where's the drama? Where's the excitement?
See how practical they are.
It's easier for old dogs to leap in.
And finally, examine what you get for your money. So, let's start with the styling, because while these cars are practical, really, their premium badges and lofty ride height are all about moving you up in the motoring class system.
Now, of all the cars, it's the Mercedes which does this best. It just has an innate authority, a presence. There's a sort of aristocratic air about it.
This is the AMG line model, and it has all the bells and whistles, but the extra bits of trim are really just the icing on a very upmarket Battenberg cake. The Evoque's design really caused a stir when it was first released, more than 4 years ago, and Land Rover has recently fitted a new bumper and lights to keep it looking fresh.
But there's something a little bit more footballers' wives about this car compared to the regal Mercedes. It's just more Victoria Beckham than Kate Middleton.
Meanwhile, the BMW X3 is the C-list celebrity of the group. It just gets less attention than the stylish Mercedes and the head-turning Range Rover.
Adding the M Sport package with its larger air vents and those big wheels does up the drama slightly, but only to daytime soap opera levels. And inside, the plot's a bit predictable too.
The design is rather dated and, let's be honest, a tad dull. To be fair, build quality is strong and the infotainment system is by far the slickest and most user-friendly here. The menus are clear and logical, and the swivel wheel controller is effortless to use. The same can't be said for the Evoque though. Despite being new, the system is still a bit slow to respond, and being a touchscreen, it's harder to operate while driving. Shame really, as the rest of the Evoque's cabin is effortlessly simplistic and easy to use.
Okay, so the feeling of quality is a little bit more superficial than in the BMW, but I can't fault this driving position. It's as though I'm sat in a sports car on stilts.
Step into the Mercedes though, and it feels in a different league, combining both style and substance. You also get the sense it's hewn from granite.
The only chink in the armour is the infotainment system, so navigating the menus is more difficult than in the BMW, and its swivel wheel touchpad system more awkward to use.
The Mercedes may not win the tech battle, but it does come out on top for practicality. There's plenty of in-car storage. It can fit 2-litre bottles in all 4 doors. The GLC also has the best rear seats with loads of room even for tall adults, and it's wide enough to carry 3 in the back in moderate comfort. Fitting a child seat is a breeze too, because the Isofix anchors are easy to locate and there's plenty of room to manoeuvre. Also, the boot is pretty big and there's nice features like a lockable floor for storing valuables, plus it also has room to store the parcel shelf. What's more, you get 3-way folding seats with electric releases. Total volume is 1600 litres, and with the seats in place there's still 550 litres capacity. The only annoying thing is the high load floor.
The BMW X3s is actually lower, so it's easier for old dogs to leap in, though the boot does lack some of the clever features of the Mercedes.
The exact capacity is on a par with the Mercedes though, but the shape of the X3's boot means you can squeeze just a little bit more in. In-car cubby spaces are good, but trail the Mercedes slightly. Fitting a child seat isn't quite as easy either, as the Isofix anchors are hidden and the rear doors don't open quite as wide. And while the back seats are very spacious, even for tall adults, there's a tad less shoulder room for 3 than in the GLC. But on the whole, it's a very close thing between the Merc and the BMW.
The Evoque is a lot smaller in the back than the other two, and the footwells are an awkward shape, so you end up constantly adjusting your feet to try and get comfortable, almost like, well, you need the toilet.
The narrower body means 3 in the back is a real squeeze, and taller people will always struggle with knee room. Fitting a child seat isn't quite as easy as in the other two due to the small door openings, while in-car storage is less plentiful. The bigger problem is boot space, which trails the Mercedes and BMW significantly. But then that's down to the Evoque's position in the market as a slightly smaller vehicle, positioned in between the BMW X3 and the X1. And of course there's always the Land Rover Discovery Sport if it's outright space you want. But that's a 7-seater, and here we're looking at 5-seater cars. And there's one way the Evoque could save face. Time for a little competition.
Welcome to the carwow boot race, where we're going to find out which of these 3 cars has the fastest automated tailgate. So, 3, 2, 1, open. Well, the Evoque gets off to a flying start, but the BMW is catching it up, and I think it's just going to pip at the post, and yes, it does. So there we go, the BMW X3 won, followed by the Range Rover Evoque, which had a clear water over the Mercedes.
So the Evoque came second in that race, but when it comes to driving off-road, it would be first, followed by the Mercedes. However, we aren't testing that here because the reality is most SUV drivers never actually go off-road.
Well, they certainly won't in this because it's the front-wheel drive only model. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, oh, well, I definitely need the four-wheel drive, but you don't. Trust me, you really don't. And it might only be powered by the lowest powered version of Land Rover's new 2-litre diesel, but 150 horsepower, that's quick enough, and it's economical. For instance, I'm averaging 51 miles per gallon in a Range Rover. Okay, so I think it's the least dynamically sophisticated of the three cars, but bizarrely, it's actually the most fun. You see, the steering, it's so fast to the point of being flighty. This gear shift has a short throw and notchy feel to it, which is quite refreshing. And you generally feel connected to the road and the car, and you can feel exactly what it's doing as it's moving about beneath you, squirming as it's trying to hold onto the road. Yes, a BMW X3 will corner faster than it, but it just seems more involving, but it's not so involving that it gets tiresome. I mean, for me, the only real problems are the awful rear visibility and the fact you get quite a lot of wind whistle whipped up by those big door mirrors.
The BMW isn't the quietest either, though mainly due to the racket its tyres make.
Also, it sort of fidgets about like it's got ants in its pants over smaller bumps and then convulses over bigger ones. It's clear that this car's been set up with firm suspension so it handles as well as it possibly can, and that's all well and fine on super smooth German roads, but yes, not so good in the UK where we don't repair our roads when they get damaged. Thing is though, you can get around the problem by fitting this car with the optional M Sport adaptive suspension, and then it's got a comfort mode, and then, well, the ride's actually pretty good. Now, this car that I'm driving is the X30D, so it's got the 3-litre diesel engine, which is, well, when you put your foot down, it is ballistic fast. The only problem is it makes a racket like a V1 rocket when you accelerate. Also, that's not going to be very good for your economy. In fact, I'm only averaging 35 miles per gallon. And to be fair, I think most people will be better off saving some money, getting the 2-litre diesel because it's cheaper and slightly more economical. Though if you get that engine, make sure you get the automatic gearbox because it's brilliant, and the manual, well, yeah, not so much.
And that brings us on to the Mercedes, which takes a totally different approach than the other two.
At first you think, ugh, this is a little bit bland. The steering, the brakes, the slushy gearbox, the sedate suspension, I don't really feel anything. Okay, it goes around corners as well as it ever needs to, but I want more. Where's the drama? Where's the excitement? And then after an hour on the motorway, followed by another hour queuing in stationary traffic, you finally get it. The GLC has been specifically set up to detach you from the sensation of driving. And yes, it's numb, but sometimes numbness can be a good thing, like in the dentists. And modern motoring is a bit like pulling teeth, and you can think of the GLC as soothing Novocaine. The only thing that you notice is when you put your foot down, the 2.1 litre diesel makes a bit of a whirring sound like the dentist drill, but I can't fault its performance. It's got 204 horsepower and I'm returning 48 miles per gallon, which is pretty incredible.
And that brings us on to costs. The Evoque is the least expensive of the three. It starts from £30,600, though you'll need to pay from £33,200 if you want four-wheel drive. The BMW X3 range begins at £33,945, while the Mercedes GLC £34,950. So, where does that leave us?
Well, each of these cars has something that makes them stand out. So with the Evoque, it's its striking design. The BMW has the sportiest drive. But when you think about what a premium compact SUV is all about, it's the Mercedes with its blend of luxury, family friendliness and relaxing drive, which means it wins this test. Click over there to watch in-depth video reviews of each of the cars in this group test. And if you enjoyed this video, please like it, share it and subscribe to our channel. Now, did you know that out of all the cars here, Mercedes is the brand which has the most individual models listed on its website, with 30.